guys, welcome to the second episode of CWU, or Control Warrior University, where we're going to talk about the Hunter matchup in the current meta for Control Warrior and how we deal with their minions and what we should do at what point in on each turn to maximize our win chances. The good news is that Hunter is a lot easier to deal with since Starving Buzzard got nerfed, because they no longer have the turns where they just get to play Unleash and Starving Buzzard and draw like 5 cards in addition to killing off all your biggest minions or doing a crap load of damage to your face. So they're much less consistent now than they were. There's a lot of people thought that Hunter was going to completely disappear for a while, including myself. I'm actually surprised that people started playing Hunter again so much so quickly, but there have been a lot of fairly competitive decks played recently, and what happens is people net deck those decks. They want to play cheap decks, or there are people that are playing Hunter before and they want to play those decks because they're used to playing Hunter. So let's start the game. So we have here what is one of the best possible starting hands versus Hunter, I feel. I honestly don't know what I would change in the starting hand to make it better. Possibly Acolyte of Pain might be better on turn to have than Sledge Belcher, but that's like a really small amount of value. And having Sledge Belcher with the coin is still really good, because if we choose not to use the coin on turn 1, we are going to be able to Sledge Belcher on turn 4. So the reason why this hand is good, Fiery War Axe is pretty much always good in every matchup. It is good in Hunter because you can use it to clear their early minions, clear Mad Scientists. You can use it to test traps so that you don't end up losing your minions to Freezing Trap. And it is basically just like one of the best forms of removal in the game for early minions, so that's great. Sledge Belcher is good because it's a big fat minion that Hunters have a really hard time dealing with. One of the only ways they can deal 5 damage from an empty board is to play a beast and kill command, and then you still have a 1/2 token left behind to suck up some more damage. So basically Sledge Belcher is like the best 5-drop in the game right now. It's like, I don't think anything else even comes close, and it's especially good against Hunter. Armorsmith is amazing in general it's amazing, but against Hunter it's really good because they play a lot of minions that have 1 health, especially Face Hunter. They basically play just minions that have 1 health except for their animal companions, and Armorsmith lets you deal with them really effectively. It also regains you health and helps neutralize their hero power, because when you play against Hunter you're almost always on a clock because they're going to hero power nearly every turn past like turn 3, and once they start hero powering you, if you're not armoring up, you are basically slowly losing health until you get to the point where you just lose. So having the Armorsmith helps counteract that. It's really good in conjunction with the Sledge Belcher. If you can play Armorsmith behind a Sledge Belcher, you're going to get a ton of armor. It's good for setting off freezing traps because then you just have a 4 mana Armorsmith and it's not a big deal. Cruel Taskmaster is really great because it kills web spinners. You can potentially use it to buff your Armorsmith, or maybe buff your Sledge Belcher to kill a Savannah Highmane. It just allows you a lot of flexibility in your trades. It's basically, think of it like having a mage hero power in addition to be able to do the extra 2 damage. So it just gets you a ton of value. Having these 3 2-drops so early is really strong, and it's hard to beat this hand for the Hunter matchup. So let's get on with turn 1. So turn 1 with our hand, the only question is really, do we want to coin Armorsmith or not? Armorsmith is really good against Hunter because of all the 1 health minions that they have, because they can't easily remove it early usually unless they use Hunter's Mark, which is good for us because that's a Hunter's Mark that they don't have available to remove something else later on. And it's also really good because even though Hunter's hero power is basically like putting you on a clock, like I said previously, if you can counteract that by just building tons and tons of armor, then they basically won't have enough damage to kill you. So usually when you're playing against Hunter, getting armor smiths out early and being able to use them to clear early minions and then putting them behind taunts is really good. The other consideration here is, do we have a play for turn 2? We currently have Cruel Taskmaster and Fiery War Axe in our hand, which those will kill anything that he plays on turn 2. Plays a 1 health minion, we play Cruel Taskmaster. If he plays a 2 health or higher minion, then we play Fiery War Axe and kill it outright. So I think coining Armor Smith here is really strong, and pretty much with this kind of hand, you should always be coining Armor Smith, in my opinion. So he plays pretty standard turn 2 Mad Scientist. Now, the question here, we're obviously going to clear it. Do we want to set off the trap now, or do we want to wait and set off the trap later? Because turn 3 is the Eagle Horn Bow turn for Hunter, it's better to set off the trap now, I feel, even if though it means we may end up getting the Armor Smith bounced back to our hand. So I make a small mistake here. I didn't quite think it through. Like I thought, you can see I think about it for a little bit, but I don't come to the right conclusion. And I choose to actually attack first, which is a mistake and actually costs me quite a bit. We'll watch how it plays out. Clearly, the best way to remove the Mad Scientist is to use the Fiery War Axe, because if we use Cruel Taskmaster and clear the Scientist and he gets Explosive Trap, then we lose both those minions to Explosive Trap. So there's no other way to clear the Scientist, in my opinion, than using Fiery War Axe here. You can see I think about this for a little while and end up coming to the wrong conclusion. Hindsight is 2020, obviously. So my mistake there resulted in the worst possible scenario. Unless he's trying to fake us out. He got Explosive Trap, which means the Armor Smith is going to die. He got a weapon, which means that we're going to give him an extra 3 damage on his weapon. So that's like the worst possible thing that could have happened, and it could have been avoided just by trying to set off the trap, or setting off the trap after we killed the Mad Scientist rather than trying to keep the Armor Smith alive. So basically we could play the second Armor Smith and get 2 armor, but it means this first Armor Smith dies and the second one's at 3 health, which means he can kill it with the weapon, which is kind of crappy. Or we can set up the trap first, and since we're 99% sure it's Explosive Trap, there's no real reason to attack with the weapon first. And then play the Armor Smith after so that it's at 4 health and he cannot kill it with the weapon without doing something else. Which is good, because the longer we can keep Armor Smiths alive, the better for us. Sorry if it seems like I'm looking down a lot. My main monitor is really big, and the, it's like a 30-inch monitor, and the cam is on top of it, so it's actually looking down at me. It's very difficult to look into the cam all the time and actually still see stuff on the screen. So he plays Web Spinner. Attacking it with the Armor Smith would still be bad, because that means the Armor Smith is at 3 health. He can clear the Armor Smith with his bow, which he probably will. So we have Cruel Taskmaster in hand. It's like the ultimate tool for dealing with web spinners. In the Hunter matchup, you're not really super worried about doing damage to them. It's more about staying alive long enough as a control warrior that you can just have like absolute board control, and you can just start dropping huge minions that they can't deal with. So There's not really any reason to save Cruel Taskmasters for Grom or anything like that in this matchup. Plus, in addition to that, they play Explosive Trap, and Grom plus Explosive Trap is 10 damage to the face. So there's no reason not to use Cruel Taskmaster here. It's turn 4, so we can Cruel Taskmaster armor up, which is really good. There's not really any reason to leave the Web Spinner alive either, because he could Houndmaster it next turn, which would cause slight problems for us. So we want to clear it. We have the solution in our hand. Might as well use it. Cruel Taskmaster armor up is the play. So he equips a second weapon. That first bow did 9 damage to our face, which sucks, but we have Sludge Belcher. It's like the strongest turn 5 play possible, especially with the Armorsmith on the board. Easy peasy. The question of attacking the face with the weapon here or not, I probably should not have. But at this point, it's getting to the. I'm at 16 health. I don't really want to take any more damage to the face if I can avoid it. Probably would still be better to save the weapon for killing. Or sorry, save the weapon for testing for traps or killing something if we absolutely have to kill it with a weapon. So normally turn 6 is the Savannah turn. He didn't play a Savannah, which means he just doesn't have one. There's no reason why he would choose this play over playing a Savannah. Unless he's a like really bad player, I think. There's not. It's just Savannah is such a strong turn 6 that if you have Savannah in your hand as a hunter, you're gonna play it. So we could Shield Slam here, but again, we're pretty sure he doesn't have Savannah. It doesn't mean he won't top deck it, so we kind of want to save the Shield Slam. We could potentially Brawl, but he's still got cards in hand, and his board is a little bit scary, but not super scary. So probably the best play here is to just trade, and cleave. Or sorry, cleave and then trade. And that leaves his board clear and leaves us with an Armorsmith and a 3/1 Sludge Belcher, which is reasonably strong. And then we can armor up Shield Block and see what we'll be able to do next turn. Since we have like such a definitive answer to his board this turn, and there's not really anything we could draw that would be a better answer that we could play for 3 mana, there's not really any compelling reason to Shield Block first here, in my opinion. Again, we're not super worried about putting damage on him at this point. We're just trying to get him to play out as many cards as he can, remove those cards so that we just have total control and he can't answer our board while keeping our life total as high as possible. So he has, again, another Houndmaster turn. He chooses to kill the Sludge Belcher, which is pretty standard, I think. We have a few different ways we can deal with this. The most threatening minion on the board right now, since he's played so many Death Rattles, is pretty much that taunt. Houndmaster is never really a huge threat because Hunter can't buff it. Pretty much ever. They don't play, basically they play cards that buff beasts, which Houndmaster is one of those cards, but it's never going to get more threatening than 3 health, 4 attacks. So we want to remove the taunt. We don't really have a good way to remove more than one of those minions. We could play Sylvanas and then Shield Slam and try to steal one of them, but it's pretty risky because we steal the 2/3 or the 4/3. It's not very good. So I think the best course of play here is to Shield Slam the taunt and just kill one of the tokens that it drops and then play Sylvanas. We could Shield Block and try to get something else, but there's a high potential that we're going to draw something that we can't play this turn, so better just to save the Shield Block for later. Brawl is somewhat of a consideration, but basically if the 4/3 or the 2/3 wins, then he has that minion plus 2/1/1s, so it's not great. If the Armorsmith wins, it's pretty good for us, but we can pretty much make it like his board is not super threatening right now. I don't think there's any reason to brawl, so shield slam and clear one of the tokens is the best play. Down to one card. The likelihood of him top decking freezing trap is pretty. So Sylvanas is pretty threatening for him here. If he does play high main, we can end up in a situation where he plays high main and we can potentially steal the high main. We can trade Sylvanas into the high main and steal one of his other minions. Because only has he only had one card in hand when we played Sylvanas. We knew it wasn't freezing trap, so it's pretty unlikely that Sylvanas is not going to be able to attack. So again, he's used most of the death rattle. Like I think maybe he has one leper gnome left in his deck potentially. I can't even remember if he played. No, he has one web spinner left, potentially leper gnomes. But that Undertaker is not super scary. Potentially, it would be better to kill that because, like I said previously, Houndmaster is never going to get worse than it is. It's just a 4/3. But I choose to remove the immediate 4 damage. He needs to play 2 Death Rattles to make the Undertaker the same attack as the Houndmaster. So I think removing the Houndmaster is fine. And we also, because it is turn 8, we don't have any other clearly strong plays. We're not going to brawl on this board, obviously. Shield block may be a consideration, but again, where you'd only have 5 mana left, and a lot of the cards that we have left are, well, not a lot, but are cards that we're either not going to want to play or may cost more than 5 mana and will leave us without a strong play this turn. Rag is pretty strong on turn 8 here because we can clear the Houndmaster, clear the token, and then Rag, which is basically a win-win situation because it's either going to kill his Undertaker or it's going to hit him in the face and leave him at 10 health and leave us with Rag plus an Armorsmith plus a 5/1 Sylvanas on the board. So either way, we're happy. It's awesome win-win situation for Rag. Yeah, I won the mirror match. Thanks for the info about your shit, though. Ah, why couldn't you kill that dude? So his play here should obviously be to run the 2/3 into Sylvanas. Because any other minion plays, he needs to get rid of that Sylvanas because it's going to create a situation where, let's say he plays 2 other minions and I have a weapon. I can kill one of the minions with the weapon, run Sylvanas to the other one, and steal the third one, and Rag is going to hit him in the face. So unless he has Freezing Trap here, he really, even if he does have Freezing Trap because I have the Armorsmith, he needs to run that Undertaker into Sylvanas to have any shot of winning the game. For some reason, he chooses now to kill the Armorsmith, which is a little bit too late. That Armorsmith got me a substantial amount of armor. We needed 2 damage for lethal, and we got it with Deathbite. I think this play is not necessarily 100% obvious. It took me a second to figure it out, but this is a pretty standard end Control Warrior versus Hunter. Rag just doing tons of damage to the face after we control the board as much as possible, and they don't draw enough damage to be able to knock our life down all the way. But yeah, pretty standard matchup. If he like 95% of 100x play Savannah Highmane. Some people do play Undertaker instead of Savannah Highmane. He got pretty unlucky in that he didn't draw them if he does play them. But he also made some pretty big misplays. He left the Armor Smith alive for too long when he could have killed it. And he chose not to kill that Sylvanas when he basically could kill it pretty much for free. And then just play the second Undertaker, which I wouldn't be able to kill with the Armor Smith, so there's a chance Rag's going to hit it instead. So he definitely made some mistakes. I made a mistake in that play where I chose to not set up the trap. So that's a lesson I learned from this game. Anytime you're playing against Hunter and you have a chance to set up a trap basically for free, maybe there's a slight downside. You should set up the trap if they don't have a weapon equipped, because the downside is that you can end up losing that minion regardless due to the trap, and also give them durability to their weapon. So keep that in mind, guys. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please like, favorite, and comment below if you have any suggestions for improvements. I tried to change up the way I do the video this time just so that you can see my face when I'm talking. I know I don't always look in the cam, but I try, and so that the audio isn't mixing together too badly. So let me know what you guys think.